music. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Is that the right? Jai Maharaj. There, plug there. This is almost out of juice. That long cord, goes to something. Yes, because it's more at least. Slide on? Yeah. Om Mangalam Gurudevaya Devye Matriksha Mangalam Mangalam Bhakta Vrindebhyo Sarva Lokaya Mangalam Om Stapakaya Chadharmasya Sarva Dharma Sarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Mangalam Om Sarashiva Samarambam Shankarachara Majamam Ashmarachara Prayantam Vande Gurum Paramparam Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahman Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. So after 30 episodes of on the Kālī Puja, introduction to Kālī Puja, we're going back to some earlier I think 2011. I don't know. Probably not that long, but about a year and a half ago, I think, is when we were going back and forth between the Kālī Sahasranāma, 1,000 Names of Kālī, and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which we haven't done in a while also. We were in the 10th skanda, Krishna Leela, childhood Leelas of Lord Krishna. So I figured after doing so long the Kālī Puja, and transitioning out of discussion to Kālī Puja, I think my soft transition would be the Kālī Sahasranāma. So keep kind of a similar topic. When I get back used to speaking about things other than puja, we can once again every couple of weeks go back and forth, because I'm excited to talk about. I think Brahma is still praying to Lord Krishna after stealing the cows. I think we're in mid-prayer. So interesting that Brahma stole the cows for 1 year, and was it 1 year? So maybe it takes 1 year to continue his prayers. So maybe some symbolic meaning there. So in the Kālī Sahasranāma, which I love this text. I'm anxious to continue meditating on it. Of course, I love Sahasranāmas. I just like the idea of 1,000 names hymns. Because recently we posted some ladies. We used to call them the Friday ladies. They used to come every Friday and chant Lita Sahasranāma here. Now they're occasional Friday ladies. They came last Friday. It was so nice. They brought some garlands for Mom. I said, "Can we chant?" I said, "Sure." They do it in, I don't know, 23 minutes. They did it or something. It takes me an hour and a half to chant Lita Sahasranāma. at least 40, 50 minutes. Very beautiful. And I posted, and it's like, oh, people chanting. But then I the way I worded it is, what stuck in my mind is like chanting the 1,000 names of she who is known by thousands of names. So the 1,000 name hymn is not a what is it? It's not it's not an exhaustive list, right? And actually, usually 1,000 name means, when you say, oh, thousands and thousands, or millions and millions, it means it's a way of saying infinite. Of course, what's infinite is just biggest number you can think of, and more than that, and more than that. I remember as a little kid, a million, a jillion, a zillion plus one, and infinity plus one, trying to think of the largest possible conceptual number. So she has truly unlimited akanda namas, unlimited names. And then the famous line, Sri Chaitanya, in each and every name, talking about Vishnu, about Krishna, but the same, in each and every name thy power resides. Every name has, Swami Shivananda says, akanda shakti, unlimited potency. Every name of God has unlimited potency. But also every name of God is, in one sense, an aspect of God, describing an aspect of God. You can say, oh, God's all beautiful and powerful and sticking her tongue out at you, or holding a flute or something like this. Some lila, some aspect, some philosophically significant description. Some description is like that, because the names are assigned this way. But actually each name is naming something or someone, right? So a name, that's why it's not exhaustive. And so thinking back to what our Guruji, Swami Vishnavananda, used to tell, he says that the name, within the name is, you have to plan. Well, let me back up to, I'm getting ahead of my own thinking. Guruji used to tell me that the secret of sadhana, this is the secret of, we've mentioned this many times, but this is the secret, I'll give you the secret of sadhana. It says you sow a thought, you reap a deed. Right? So thought, because thoughts repeated become actions. You sow a deed, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, because your deeds repeated become your habit. You sow a habit, you reap a character. Sum total of your habit, your character. You sow a character, you reap a destiny. Now it's that is actually this little saying. It's in India. There's in school there's like little books of little sayings, right? And that's one of them it's common school book. It's one of the things that you get. So it's not like he didn't generate it himself, right? But here in his 90s, as he's giving the secret of spiritual life, he's repeating things he learned like in second grade or first grade, and early, these type of things. Because something, I was saying everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. One of them, remember that book like that title, I think? Something like that. It's one of those like wash your hands, be nice to people, don't push, things like this, wait your turn. So this is one of those things. But Guruji said actually that means actually as you think, not only so you do, but you think, your thoughts lead to your destiny. And therefore he says, you think only divine thoughts. That was Guruji's main point. Therefore, think only divine thoughts. And the higher thought, think only the higher thought. That's what he said. High thoughts lead to high actions lead to high character, habit, character, and destiny. And he says, what's the higher thought? Well, God's the higher thoughts. Even by definition, even if there's no God, right? God's the higher thought, right? St. Anselm's definition is the being greater than which nothing can be imagined, or no greater being can exist. Whether he defined God into existence, but this was a nice judicial trick of logic. But the idea that whether or not that God can be proven to exist, the idea, you can't get beyond the idea of God, right? So you have to think. So, and this idea of planting and sowing, right, assumes a seed, right? You plant a seed and get plant a thought and get a action. Plant an action. So what's the seed thought for God? And so years ago, as this is something we've been meditating our entire adult life. I remember first time we shared this in this setting. The victim was Prakash, but today it's going to be Atmaram, right? I says, let's say I want to think about Atmaram, right? And so there's things I know about Atmaram. Should I mention your good qualities? Your good, like so many wonderful. He's a snazzy dresser. He's intelligent. He makes good coffee. He comes here on the weekends. He goes to school. I mean, I can start all the things I know about him, right? And I can give a pretty good list. But most of those things, they're things I kind of know about him, right? And there are aspects of him, But there's so many more things that I don't know about him than anything. If I went on listing his qualities, qualities and characteristics, behaviors and habits like this, they're infinitesimal compared to all the things that are possible to say about him. Even a limited being. I'm sorry to limit you right now, but even a limited being, very limited being like Atmaram, right? Or to speak of an unlimited being. So if I can start thinking, I'm going to remember Atmaram, and start thinking, what he looks like, what he says, our conversations, my memories about him, what he's told me about his past, what I think about his, we can start creating a list of things we know about him. But that's nothing compared to all the things we don't know about him, right? And all the things that even nobody can know everything about him, right? So how do I plant? Any one of those things could be a thought of his. I can plant the way he looks, or the way he thinks, or the way he dresses, or the way, or the way he cooks, or so whatever the details on anybody. But another thing I can do, I can plant one thought that includes everything, right? All the things I know about him, and all the things I don't know about him, right? That's a mysterious thing. That is a name. When you name something, it points to something. It points to the thing. The name may give some aspect, some limited aspect, right, of the thing being thought about, but it means the whole thing. Right, and you say, it's like so an example to use why the example of planting a seed is so useful and why it's used again and again in spiritual life is like a seed of a tree. You plant it within the tree is everything you can think about a tree, about that tree, about its future, everything is included potentially at least in the seed. So God's name is contains the full thing. That's why Swami Shivananda says in each and every name, unlimited ananta shakti, unlimited power, the full thing, the full package is there, right? So that's true of any name. That's the beauty. If you want to meditate upon something, the highest thing is God. To meditate upon the highest thing, one method of meditation, a very effective method, is to meditate on God's name or God's names, right? Because it includes some unique aspect that you're bringing out in the name, right? And everything else that you know about God, and everything else you have no idea about God, everything else that can't be known about God, right, is also included in the name, right? So this is the thing. Sometimes we to define God is to deny God. The people use this type of thing. God's infinite, and we say things about God, and we give God's name and forms and attributes and scriptures and beliefs about Him, or believe God, her, even say Him or her, and that's denying the infinitude. Yes, partially. If you take it absolutely, like the God's this and nothing else, then you're stating stupid things, right? But anything you say about God or think about God or is revealed about God through tradition or revelation or scripture or just contemplation, it reveals something, and it reveals something, and potentially reveals the whole thing. Right, so it points to the whole thing if you treat it. So there's the idea that while we have a name of God, we may have a name of God that we prefer, an aspect of God or a flavor, some point or something that suits us, that attracts our minds, right? That therefore helps our meditation. But we know that the one being named is infinite, and therefore Ramakrishna would also say it has infinite names, right? The infinite one has infinite names, infinite methods of realization, infinite paths. There's a new book called Infinite by Ayan Maharaj, Infinite Paths to the Infinite Reality. That's the name of the book, I think. I got it right? Yeah. Wonderful book. Philosophically challenging book. Then infinite. So, therefore, there's not just like, here's like if I can have a sectarian perspective, God is Vishnu, or God is Kālī, or God is Lalita, or Shiva, right? But even the traditions that say God's only Shiva and not Vishnu, or only Vishnu and not Shiva, right? They also have thousand name hymns for Vishnu, and 1,000 names hymns for Shiva. So the one that they're thinking, even if they have a limited sectarian perspective, they also recognize within it that it's the unlimited one, and that one's reality is unlimited, have thousands of names. And and it's very interesting. Like in the 1,000 names of Vishnu, the name of Shiva is there. In the 1,000 names of Shiva, the name of Vishnu is there. Right? The 1,000 names of Kālī, there's many names for Lalita. In the 1,000 Lalita, Kālī's name is there. You know, these type of things. You know. And so, like, as we've gone through, I don't know how many names that we've gone through so far. We've gone 146 names in our talk so far. In 21 verses, we've done 146 names. Right. But actually, a lot of those, like we went to, like, there's Nada-shinghi. Right. So I'm not sure, but most likely there's a Nada-shinghi Sahasranāma. If there isn't, there should be, right? There's one we've done to one of the names is yesterday we celebrated the day before yesterday, Chinnamasta Jayanti, right? So there's a Chinnamasta. One of her names is Chinnamasta or Prachanda Chandika, right? But there's a Chinnamasta Sahasranāma. There's 1,000 such names, and in that 1,000 names, there may be a name of a form of the deity that also has 1,000 name hymns. Right, so that's really 1,000 names is not exhaustive. Each one of the 1,000 names has 1,000 names. Each one of those 1,000 names has 1,000 names. Right, it's the infinite names of the infinite reality. That's the thing. So and so every Guruji's point, in every name, the full meditating on God's name or God's names is meditating on the full package. Everything we know, everything we don't know, everything knowable, everything unknowable. Right, and so we sometime in our previous discussions we said that when we're naming God, actually our Sahasranāma discussions, we're not. There's also danger that we're not naming, we're not describing only what we know. That's an important part, right? When we describe what we know, then there's a danger because we don't know that much, right? And we don't know what we know is true. Right, chances are what we know is probably not true. I'm pretty sure. I'm getting more and more. The one thing, what is it? The one thing I know, I don't know everything. You know, like it's But so when you start saying this is the truth and this is what I know, and then there's a danger because actually that's a danger when you put a microphone and a recording device and a Facebook post, right? Like will then become a YouTube video and a podcast audio, you know, like, right? So, because let's see what Swamiji knows. Very dangerous, because really, when somebody starts speaking, they're speaking what they people say what they think and what they know and understand. They reveal really what they don't know, what they don't understand, right? You reveal somebody's ignorance. Speaking of what you know, you reveal your ignorance very often. I think this is one of the dangers, right? Srila Prabhupada had a thing. He says there's 3 people, dressed same haircut, same age, same skin complexion, same dress, right? The same bag, whatever like that. It says 3 of them are fools, 1 of them's wise. How do you know the difference? Wait till they say something, right? As soon as they open their mouth, then you know who's foolish. You know, as soon as they start stating about the views about things, you realize how much they don't know. Right, so that's a danger. So, but we will boldly let the microphone on and let the YouTube and Facebook thing roll, because we're not describing what we know. We're describing we're not describing what we know. We're not claiming to describe what we know. We're not describing what we don't know, which is a lot. Right, we're describing the mystery. Right, we're describing meditation upon the mysterious one that can't be known and is and a certain whose ultimate nature, whose full nature can't be known, right? In the normal way we think of it. Although there are some people we believe know, Brahmagyanis, Ishwarakotis, Jiva Muktas. We have terms and today is Buddha Jayanti. We have Lord Buddha, beautiful picture, and that statue of Buddha is my very first religious image I had in high school when I was 15 or 16. Bought at the Visions and Dreams in Costa Mesa, an old, back when it was an actual bookstore. It's sold now. It's a different type of store, but that was my first. And I was heavily criticized by friends in high school for deviating from the right religion. But anyways, Buddha won out, this one. But we have Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. At least we believe that they have knowledge, right? but what do they have knowledge of? They have conclusive. They're not, they're not like prophets or something like in the normal limited. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the term, but some limited message that they know the one that can't be described, right? And they even use language like that. They're describing the one that can't be described, right? Yet they're describing that and really good. I mean, these are if you were to look at themes within mysticism, right? We see one of the themes in mysticism that a lot of them, not all mystics, but a lot of mystics, I think it's our friend, a lot of mystics hold that that the truth that they're experiencing, right, is ineffable, can't be described beyond, even Thakur says beyond words, right? Avachaniya, I think, is one of the words, right? That which can't, Jai Ma, Jai welcome, that which can't be described. Yet we have, I mean, those very people have teachings, write books, right? Or sometimes brilliant poetry. Some of them are very skilled at describing the one that can't be described, So I believe, this is my ignorance or my knowledge, or the mystery, that that these hymns are like that. The Sahasranāmas, every hymn is like that, but Sahasranāmas are especially like that. There are 1,000 aspects of the one whose aspects can't be numbered, right? 1,000 is so. There's a long introduction, but 1,000 is not a exhaustive number, obviously, right? So we've in the 146. I don't know how many talks you've given for 146. Probably about 30 talks or something, right? Which means 45, 50 hours of discussion on just the first few 20 verses of I don't know how many verses this has. 154. So this we'll be on this topic for a little while, right? Of the Kālī Sahasranāma. We've barely touched it, right? And we've talked hundreds of hours, right? And we'll talk thousands of hours, and hopefully our whole life will be thinking and talking and discussing and contemplating and meditating and chanting these divine topics, right? But we're just, I mean, not scratching. To say scratching the surface is insulting somehow to the infinite, right? We're nothing, right? We've actually almost said nothing. Yet, by meditating any one of these names, who are we meditating on? The one who is infinite. So we have to remember we're getting the whole package. So what verse are we on? We're on verse 21. I shall chant it if I can find it on my... Mattā, pramattā, pramadā, sudhā-sindhu-nivāsinī, ati-mattā, mahā-mattā, sarvākarṣṇa-kāriṇī. Do you have it? Do you have this? You have this verse? Oh, yeah. Which version do you have? Okay, so in case, okay. I just don't know which version you have. I mean, so this is the Kālī Sahasranāma. Yeah. It's and this particular one he goes strange because the normal. I'm sure there's a justification for his translation, right? But it's not the obvious It's not the obvious meaning, right? It's actually the previous verse. This is one we talked a long time ago, right? It was a verse on Digambari. It was about Ma's clothes and the elements like that, and then the final. Do you have the final name of the previous verse?
She who is the ultimate intoxication.
So what's the Hindi? Madan Atura or something? Madan Atura. Right. Yeah. So the same. So it starts actually. The details. The name that repeats again in this verse, in this cluster of names, is primarily Madda, right? Madda and Mattā, right? So these two are related. Right, and Mattā and Atura in the previous, I think I didn't have to. I wanted to listen to the end of the last talk for this, so I could remind myself what we said. I don't remember exactly what we said. Didn't get a chance to, but Madan, and then Madana. It's Mad. That name comes from Madana Atura, Madana and Atura, right? And so this will give some hint of what Madda means. well, anyway, we'll after you describe what mattā and madan means, we'll go back and look at that verse, which is the wind up for this. So actually the two, so there's mattā, pramattā, and then pramadā, and ati-mattā. So this word mattā, M-A-T-T-A, and M-A-D-A. These are the two terms, right? They come from the same root. Samaji was helping me understand this a little earlier, right? And so maddha means wine, right? That you're saying. So it comes from the word for wine, maddha, which means, so you can see things that dealing with the word wine is like intoxication, intoxicated, drunk, wild, crazy, like all the things that are, you can start pulling words from this term, right? Right. So, and something Swamiji helped me just literally before coming out, before jumping back out, is for the difference, because what's the real difference between the mattā, M-A-T-T-A, and maddha, M-A-D-A, is one is a noun and one would be an adjective, right? So mattā would be like, how would you describe that? That's a noun. No, adjective. Mattā is the adjective. That's right. So it means that you would say like somebody who's intoxicated, right, or drunk, right, or infatuated. It's that type of thing. And they're so similar in my tongue. My brain and my tongue are not working, so give it my best shot. And maddha is a noun, which means drunkenness or alcohol or craziness itself, not crazied or crazy, but craziness itself, the thing itself, right? And actually, this is how I was thinking about this, literally from the walk over there to here. I didn't have much time to contemplate. You're not giving my best long contemplation today, right? As we've talked, it brought me back to a theme that one of the interpretive principles we've done through the names of Kālī, through the 1,000 names of Kālī, is when we say Ma is like beautiful, right? So you say, everybody look at Ma. She's beautiful. You get to see her for the first time. She's very beautiful, right? She's the most beautiful. She's literally the most. She's mahā-Tripura-sundari, the most beautiful in the three worlds, right? There you go, right? Or by definition, she's nothing more beautiful than her, right? But she's also beauty, right? So actually, the way we kind of trying to describe before is that in the world where we make Ma an object to contemplate on and meditate upon and think about, pray to and appreciate, right? We make her an object, therefore she's beautiful, right? But it's not by saying that Ma is beautiful. We start describing something, the quality of an object. Oh, that's beautiful, and that's helpful, and that's scary, and like that. But that because we're making that when we see it not as an object but as the thing itself. She's beauty itself. She's not beautiful. She is beautiful when we think of her as an object, right? She's beauty, right? She's nurturing, or she's nurture. She's the thing itself. And I don't know, not even from there to here, but from here to here, right? Thinking, a little bit because we've been a little bit contemplating some Plato's ideas of the world of forms and the world of particulars, and also because I went to UC Berkeley and George Burke, our founder, or the namesake founder, took this to the ridiculous level of craziness of primary qualities and secondary qualities and all this type of things, But the idea that there's a thing itself, this have to be careful because I don't think Plato. Anyways, we shall interpret this through bad Platonic reasoning. He can correct me later. He knows these things better, right? But there's we studied this 27 years ago, so I'm a little fuzzy. But please forgive if I get some of the details wrong, right? Or not so careful, right? But the way it was described to me in my first epistemology class so many years ago was like, here we have this little table that I have my book, my little book on, right? So everybody can recognize that this is a table, right? But that's also a table, right? And Usha's desk is also a table, and your kitchen table is also a table, and your dining room table is also a table, right? But these are, they have almost nothing in common. Some things have a lot in common, but there's like this round glass thing over by the couch over there that has like very little in common with it. But we see there's something in common. There's tableness, the thing itself, right? The details that, this. So you say, when you say this is table-y, right? There's tableness that all tables that are tables somehow or another partake of. The thing itself, whatever that thing is, Plato's the world of ideas, it's a different thing, but I'm talking from the Hindu perspective. There's the thing itself, and then everything else that has that quality we attribute it to. So now this is table-y. That's a weird way of saying it, but there's beauty and something that's beautiful. Everything that's beautiful has beauty, somehow partakes of beauty, right? So she's both the thing itself and a quality of the things, everything that has it, right? When we think of her, it's hard to think of her as a thing itself, as in a non-dualistic way. As soon as we try to make her even conceptually an object, she becomes the most beautiful, the most frightening, the most loving, the most creative, the most destroying, all the different qualities like that, right? But she's the thing, so she's the thing itself as well. So interesting here, the reason it made me think about it walking from here to here is because it's the noun and the adjective. She's intoxication and she's intoxicated, right? So we have to think she's also many of her names. She's also everywhere and everything and as everything and in everything and everything is in her and everything is her, right? Therefore, everything we see that's like for beauty, for instance, everything that's beautiful that's her, the beauty. The beautiful is her, right? And the beauty in everything that's beautiful is her, right? So that's how we're trying to describe it. So intoxication is her, and everything that's intoxicated is her as well. And we think of her, which is the primary quality, as an object of contemplation, a secondary object of, when we objectify something that's beyond subject and object, then she becomes intoxicated. This is weird. I'm playing a little bit with grammar, but this is, it's a sickness that I have to do like this. But I think this is important. I think these things are important, because she's the thing itself, as well as has that thing. And in everything we see, everything that has that thing, that's her, because everything partakes of the thing itself, right? Everything is a manifestation of the thing itself. That makes sense. Doesn't make sense. So, point is, Ma's drunk. That's the main thing. Maybe when you make a bold statement like Ma's drunk, we better have to give it a big philosophical setup to make the bold point. And she's drunkenness. She's intoxicated and she's intoxication. Now, simple thing is like, maybe, and I have to be. We very often have bracketed so many of our statements when we say, we're talking about. None of this could be true, right? Because it could just be these are describing an ancient goddess who's described as wild and drunk, and it's a goddess of alcohol and it's like. That's also true. There's folk traditions of the goddess she's a tribal goddess, and like that, right? But she's also either she always has been, or she's become, or she's been connected to the goddess, right? She's not. Every goddess has the quality of goddessness, right? Same type of thing as everything that's beautiful has beauty, right? So every goddess has goddessness, right? So she's connected to what we call the Mahadevi, so we're describing the Mahadevi, not just not just, but I'm not trying to be pejorative, to some wild Dakini, Yogini, some wild nature spirit that's screaming and drunk and like this, although she's that too, right? So she's what is it? Mattā, pramattā. So she's both. So as mattā, she's intoxicated, and pramattā, pra means extra, very much, supremely, very hugely. foremost, maybe like extremely, extremely, or the most amongst, like you'd also say, you know. So we have to think like this. So it's already two categories. It's whatever she's intoxicated and she's supremely intoxicated, right? She's intoxication and she's absolute intoxication. So another way you can also think of it, it's even that is at the relative conception and an absolute mind, beyond mind and thought understanding. So when I a few days ago, when I looked at what are we supposed to be, last week when I had a bad voice because of cold, we canceled. But when I thought let's look at the verse. What verse is it? Oh, these are the Ma's drunk and drunkenness. So I was thinking, immediately a verse from the Chandi. We love the Chandi, and a verse from the Chandi. I forget who she's fighting. Probably Shumba and Nishumba at the end. I think it's one of the penultimate type of scenes, right? Or it may have been Mahishasura. I'm not sure. Maybe, but it was one thing where Mahishasura, or one of the demons, is howling and screaming and roaring. Maybe it's Mahishasura roars, right? Maybe that's it. And he's roaring. Yeah, it must be Mahishasura. There's this huge roar, and then the Devi says, "Roar all you want, as I sip on my wine, on my cup of wine," right? Right. It says the gods later will be roaring in this very spot after I kill you, right? This is of course, a very dramatic scene, right? But that's immediately stuck to me. There's some scene where and also here Ma doesn't hold, but you see some other rupas of Kālī. She holds and many of the names we already talked about. She holds a bowl or a skull cup, right? And usually that cup is either considered full of wine, right? Actually, maddā, right? Or madhu, right? Actually, sometimes actually we were discussing the wine. This term for maddā is similar to madhu, which is the name for honey, right? And in the ancient world, a lot of wines were made from honey, right? You ferment honey is like Balaram, and Lord Balaram, he was famous for honey, drinking honey wine, right? So on his birthday, people often make honey drinks that are not quite fermented. They don't go that far, but he was known for drinking honey, a wine made of honey. It's madhu. Wine. So she in that cup of her skull cup that she holds, we talked about this. She holds honey, wine, or blood. That's the other thing, right? So that's of course, it's called the imagery. It gets very we call Halloweeny, right? It has that type of imagery, right? And blood is a major. One of her names is she who rides, whose vehicle is blood, right? That's a big thing. Rakta Vahini or something. There's 2-3 verses beforehand. There was that maybe the previous verse actually is there. You see it there? The previous verse, verse 21. You have. I also have. What am I doing to you? I have the book right here. Gambara. Yeah, Raktavahini. Raktavahini. She whose vehicle is blood. Of course, this is a man. This is so simple. We have a long talk about it. It's about prana, life. Blood becomes a symbol of life itself and prana and like this. So therefore Kālī is a lot to do with blood symbolism and actual blood. In our tradition, more blood symbolism and life symbolism, prana, right? But so what is that she drinks? That's the thing, right? So in that Chandi where she's laugh all you want as I drink my wine, right? So of course it's part of one of the things for intoxicated or intoxication is furious or out of mind, or what's the word for that? Infuriated. Another word maybe frenzied. Yeah, frenzied is a good term, right? That's another one of the flavors of this meaning, right? So within the battle, of course, the image in the Chandi is this wild battle, and Ma is a wild warrior goddess, right? And in the popular stories also, once even all the demons are killed, she can't stop killing, right? There's something about there's that very disturbing scene in Lawrence of Arabia, Remember whether they go to attack something and they butcher everybody. They go out of hand. I remember that scene. There's some wild, very disturbing scene where the bloodlust, I think is what they call it. Something comes and you go beyond reason and it goes you come out of control, right? And the Chandi is full. That's one of the themes of that. The Ma gets and the themes of Kālī is this. It goes out of mind, out of control, right? Even yesterday we also celebrated year before yesterday Narasingha Jayanti. Right, Chinnamasta Jayanti, which was also about losing your head and getting out of control, and Nishingadeva Jayanti, right? And also the same thing when if God's Nishingadev is God angry, right? That's he's an angry. He's Ugra Nishinga, the angry Nishinga. So he's angry, and he's anger. He's the thing itself, right? And so that's the thing. So he's not just a man, not just a. He's everything that's angry. Maybe that's a reflection of him. He's angry or he's anger, and so at that level, even in the story, he goes wild, and nobody. If he kills Hiranyakashipu in the story, and then he's looking what else to kill. Right, he's in that wild. So the story goes right, and so in the Bhagavatam, the gods push Prahlad forward, right, and Prahlad immediately is like, and he sees Prahlad, and he's like. He becomes calm, he becomes now not angry or anger. He becomes gentle and gentleness and all those type of things. And slowly, Prahlad's simple devotion and pure-hearted devotion calms him down. Right, that's from the Bhagavatam story. Right, but because today we're doing Kālī Sahasranāma, we're going to go a little more wild. Right, there's other stories where he, especially in South Indian tradition, in the Sri Vidya tradition, they have this also, where he. It's in the scripture. We one time watched this on that Devankidev Mahadev, that series on Shiva, right? And we're like, oh, Prahlad, we know the Prahlad, we know the Nishingadev, so we're ready to know we know how it happens, we know how it ends, right? And so Nishingadev is roar, very expert graphics, you can imagine for TV, Indian TV weekly serial, but he roar, and so they push Prahlad, you go calm him down. Right, and so we know. I expected Prahlad's going to come and calm him down. But what does he do? He looks at Prahlad and smacks him out of the way and goes out to destroy the world. Even Prahlad doesn't calm him down in this version of the story. Right? And who calms him down? Sarabeshwara. I think I always forget his name because it shows you it's how we live in the Bhagavatam version of the story. That's how we really meditate upon it, right? But in other versions of the story, or in other it could be other tellings of the story or other leelas. Right, because that's one way to understand it. It doesn't just happen once; it happens millions of times in countless universes. So just other. That's one way to tell how to save the discrepancies between the traditions. Or it could just be a Shaivite retelling where Shiva's supreme and not Vishnu, and Vishnu supreme and not Shiva. Because the Puranas are sectarian in their nature, even though they have absolute and divine qualities, but they're told by a community for its own community. So we could also interpret it that way. But anyways, so what did it do? So if Prahlad can't, the gods were, Lakshmi couldn't calm him down, the gods couldn't calm him down, Prahlad couldn't calm him down. So Shiva, he's the supreme god, in case you're wondering, in these Puranas, he goes and takes on a form. So Vishnu has a lion's head and a human body. So you need something to put something down, to calm something down, you need something more dramatic than that thing, right? So what's more dramatic? All the details of what are all the details? I forget all the details, but he has I think he has a lion's feet and Garuda's eagle's wings, and I forget, but he's like it's right out of like the Book of Revelations, when it all these wild with the heads of that description. It may even be, I don't know, I can't prove it, but it seems to echo some of that description, the head of this and the feet of this, and this incredible type of thing. And in one version, he just goes up to Vishnu and Nishingadev, who's wild, and goes, calm down. Calms down. Other ones they fight until he calms them down. Other ones actually he kills Narasingha. Of course, you can't kill Narasingha. He's God. He's Vishnu, right? But he destroys that form, because that form is an angry expression, and along with that form of anger, he can't get out of it, right? But anyways, this is a long-winded idea. But that part of intoxication or frenzy or drunkenness. In drunkenness, we lose control. That's one of the definitions of drunkenness, intoxication. At some level, you lose some. In the beginning levels, maybe you lose inhibitions. It's like I'm talking in, but the danger, and much danger, is you lose control, right? And then if you lose control a little bit, everything gets out of control, and pretty soon your life gets away from you. So that's a danger. So so in the Chandi and the stories that come from it, Ma gets wild and has to be calmed down, and so even this is not in the Chandi, and this is a later Bengali version where Ma is seen as why is she stepping on Shiva? There's one story. It's not in the Chandi. It's not the classical story, right? But that she's in that wildness where she destroyed all the demon or the demons, right, in the battle, right? And now you've unleashed it. You've unleashed it. You've started a nuclear reaction, and you don't know. You don't know when they did the first nuclear test. They didn't know if the world was going to end because they had no idea. Like they knew that the atom would split the next atom, but they didn't know when entropy would take over, and they could have. It was a mathematical possibility that the entire universe would would be destroyed by the first. So it's like what do you do to contain the energy? So in the story, Shiva lies down amongst the corpses that she's killing corpses that are already dead in frenzied battle, and she steps on Shiva, and it's like, oh, I've stepped on my husband. This is of course we know the stories. It seems unlikely that Kālī would be like shame, sticks out her tongue in shame. This type of thing. This is a Bengali tradition. It's not found in this version is not found in old texts. It's a fairly like 500-600-year-old. I mean, that's not old in texts, but not in Puranas and things like that. But it's found in later literature. It's there, right? And so, of course, sometimes it's just Ma has she has to know her place, and she stepped on her husband and be bashful and be the controlled, docile woman again, which she's primordial energy and Maha Shakti like that, right? But even we always say that Maha Shakti and Shava without Shiva, Shakti is uncontrolled energy, and without Shakti, Shiva is Shava, is corpse, unmoving consciousness, right? So the two control each other and one controls the other manifests. This is one way of looking at it, right? And there's other stories where I think the other day we talked a little bit about Bhairava. I think in the Kālī Puja talk, we talked a little bit about Bhairava Puja. One of the stories of Bhairava, and the same type of thing in the story where Ma Kālī goes wild and Shiva doesn't know how to stop her from destroying the entire universe. Right, the very children she manifests to save, now she's going to destroy. A very deep thing, actually. We'll go back to that. How she destroys in wildness her own children. Then he lays down and the story goes, he lays down and she's fallen for that trick once, right? And we mentioned that, so I was like she wasn't done. She wasn't. It's like when you're angry, right? And then somebody like does something like to calm you down, and you get angry at them for stopping you from being angry because you're not done being angry. Sometimes you need to go through the cycle. The explosion has to go all the way to the end, and like that was up. So she bypasses. She steps around them, or if that didn't work, right? So then it says that Shiva then took on a little form, a little hungry boy and crying, little Bettu Bhairava, Batuka Bhairava. Little and he sees him, and then she takes him and nurtures him and suckles him, and then calms down, right? But the theme in this is that when the Shakti is awakened, right, it becomes frenzied, mattā, or intoxicated, or drunk, or overwhelmed, or uncontrolled, this type of thing, right? And so in the middle of the battle, let me drink this. And she's like, okay, you can roar all you want. I'm going to take a few sips of this and go real wild. Just wait. No, we haven't seen anything yet, right? And what is it? It's prana, it's shakti, it's like this. So we'll describe what this is momentarily. Mattā means intoxicated, drunk. Pramattā, so that's like, and pramattā is supremely so, extremely so. So these two categories I think are important, that there's a common perspective of like in normal life there's intoxication, right? By accident or by purpose, we are there's intoxication, and there and people are intoxicated. There's that level of regular thing. She's that too, but she's also pramattā, right? She's supremely so she's not just at the common level of experience. She's the reason poets use the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, right, and using drunkenness as a metaphor for devotion, right? Or Rumi uses this language sometimes, right? Romance or of wine and drunkenness is a very common thing in Sufi tradition, right? Right. It's interesting. Some people like Paramahansa Yogananda he loved he had a commentary on the Rubaiyat, Omar Khayyam, right? But some scholars believe that this is a mystical poem about using wine and drunkenness as a metaphor for devotion to God, right? But some scholars say actually no, it's about wine, right? There were three, it's like, but it works so good because the idea of losing yourself and becoming overwhelmed and being obsessed and all these type of things that usually in the material world these are considered bad qualities in a certain sense, right? But you see that they're the perfect thing because that's what happens when you fall in love or when you go to a divine excess, So the mattā and pramattā, drunkenness. But the pramattā, I think, is why the symbol of regular drunkenness is a perfect symbol for the divine intoxication, right? Another word is here. There's another. Where is it? There's mattā, pramattā, and ati-mattā. So the third category. I don't know how to. I can just make up 3 different categories. I don't know what There's drunkenness, like extreme drunkenness, and what like ati is but in Hindi we use that term ati-sundam or ati how would you describe that
Like over the top.
That's way too much. over the top is very good. That's perfect, right? Mattā, pramattā, ati-mattā, and then pramadā, intoxication and intoxicated. So, and then in the middle of this group of drunken verses, right? There's a name that I think gives a hint at some of how to interpret it, and that is the long one. Where is it? It's a sudhā-sindhu-nivāsinī. That's a name that's like a recognizable name, right? Right. Sudhā-sindhu-nivāsinī. Nivāsinī means dwelling. Sudhā. Yeah. Sudhā. Sudhā. Yeah, Sudhā. It's S-U, not S-H, right?
Yeah.
Sudhā. Sudhā, same. Su. It's a different meaning. I'm using all the translations I have, assuming S-H. Shuddha means purity. Sudhā, what would Sudhā mean? Anybody know? Because I may be related because all 3 translations, 4 translations I have, all give versions of pure, of pure. Yeah. So anyway, it's the same. We'll go the same idea. You can look it up, but it's the same. The point is definitely about nectar, right? Suddha or Shuddha, if it's related to it. Same meaning? So it's the same meaning. Probably Shuddha comes from probably Sudhā-sattva. So Nivāsinī, dweller, and then Sindhu. Sindhu means ocean, lake or ocean, right? Ocean, right?
A river or ocean.
Ocean. We say river or ocean, but we'll start with this definition of ocean. But river also has a particular meaning. So she dwells in the ocean of purity, right? Or the pure ocean. That's you can say the pure ocean, but ocean of purity, right? But again, It's a thing itself, not just a description of the thing. She dwells in the ocean of purity. Now, there's many, of course, like there's. This could, I mean, we can attach this name, this description to all kinds of forms of the goddess, and say, oh, this is one of Kāli's form. One of which is like Lakshmi. Lakshmi is born from the ocean, from the what is it? Ksīrasagara, from the ocean of milk. Right, Ksīrasagara, right? That's actually, maybe if any of you here have if I ever did the house blessing puja in your home, right? It's usually people. I've ruined their first thing I do. I walk into their new home and ruin their kitchen. What they do, we pick a pot and we fill it with milk and we let it overboil. So the first thing it spills over and of course and it burns in the cooking. It's like the mom's always like, they know how. Purposely letting milk overboil is a big mess. It's a huge mess, sticky, dry mess, right? But there's a meaning. Why? Because in the stories, from the ocean of milk comes Lakshmi. So as the milk overflows out of the pot in your kitchen, it brings Lakshmi into your kitchen, which means food, prosperity, happiness, health, and her like that. So it's the Griha Lakshmi, the household Lakshmi. The Lakshmi of the home is invoked into the home this way. It's a very, very beautiful and messy puja, right? We do chanting Lakshmi hymns and Master Lakshmi Stotam or Shri Shuktam while it goes on as you're invoking her. And there's an ancient, of course, we all know this. I think we all know the story of the churning of the ocean, given in the Bhagavatam also, in the I think 8th skanda of Bhagavatam, I believe. And when the gods and the demons were churning the causal ocean, the Karana Sagara, right? It's the ocean of causation, right? This word will come again shortly. Karana Sagara, as they're churning, both gods and demons are churning, right? Using Mount Mandara as the churning rod and Vasuki or Nag, the king of snakes, as a rope. Right, and the gods on one side, it lends itself very heavily to a yogic interpretation, right? We're not, and that is that we're churning our unconscious or our subconscious or and using the spine of the Sushumna, Merudanda, using the Kundalini as the rope, Ida and Pingala as the sun and moon or the gods and demons, through pranayama. It's given lots of these type of interpretation. We gave 20 or 30 talks on this already. Also, they're a popular series. One of my favorite stories in the Bhagavatam. There's like 5 or 6 core stories. That's one of them given in the Bhagavatam, Turning of the Ocean. But when they're trying to get amrita, but many things come out of the ocean first. As you churn, all kinds of stuff comes out, right? All kinds of and in the story, an elephant comes out and that's given to Indra the horse, all kinds of. There's I think 27 or something. There's a famous number of all the different things that come out, right? But one of the things that comes out is, and as they come out, everything that comes out is given appropriately either to the gods or the demons or the brahmanas to the humans. They're given the appropriate what will use them best, right? And so when Lakshmi comes out of the milk, out of the ocean, right? Everybody wants Lakshmi. That's money, health, happiness, beauty, prestige, fame, all the desirable things is Lakshmi, right? Lakshmi, right? But because she's not a normal, she's a dignified royal goddess, right? She gets to choose her own husband. What is that called? Swayamvar. The girl chooses and she takes her garland and puts it on whoever. And so the gods want her, and the demons want her, right? And so she looks at the one person who's not clamoring for her, and that's Vishnu. So she goes and marries Vishnu. So she goes to Vishnu, right? So this could be a simple, and it could be a description of Lakshmi, she who dwells, or you could say comes from, the ocean of the pure ocean, right? She comes from that ocean of, maybe this is a possible. I think a reasonable reading of this name, right? just recently, the last few days actually, our friend Haley Goswami, who did a lot of these divine paintings, right? He's done a new painting of a Bengali form of an ancient Bengali form of the goddess that has been also connected to Lakshmi, although it's probably not originally Lakshmi, but having goddessness, it's been connected to the Mahadevi, right? Just like tables have tableness. What's her name? Kamala Kamini. Kamala Kamini, right? And what's the name of the book? Do you remember the name of the book? The Kavi Kankan Chandi is an old kind of liturgical collection that tells her story as well as other stories. It is more than I want to. I mean, that could be very very good interview. We have to interview Haley on this point. It's a really fascinating thing. But it's an ancient form that was believed to be in the middle of the ocean. Right, the descriptions of actually, you see a lot of times there's so many stories about sailors going and meeting some goddess in the middle of the ocean, some frightening and divine goddess in the middle of the ocean. There's all kinds of stories like that, right? Even you see a lot of even Kuan Yin. There's stories that she was discovered by Mary. So it's connected to to oceans for sure, right? You're in it. What did these sailors discover in the middle of the ocean? They saw an ocean. They saw a area full of lotuses that aren't supposed to grow in the ocean, right? And in the middle of this one, on this lotus, there is a woman, a goddess, right, and floating on this on Kamini, a lady on a lotus, Kamala Kamini, the name of this. It's new for me, that's why I did. But it's interesting that he just did a painting and a write-up on this just when this name, I think, comes up. That's why it inspired me. But she does something, it's very unusual. What do they see? She's holding elephants, right? And so, of course, Lakshmi comes out of the ocean, and she has elephants, right? So that's why you can see there's some connection, perhaps. We have here in our Dash Mahavidyas, there's our Kamala, right? Not exactly Lakshmi, but Kamala is a Lakshmi connected to actually her name. She is a consort of Shiva, not a Vishnu in the Dash Mahavidyas. Even in Mahāsastika Stotram, it says she's a consort of Shiva. So it shows you there's a very old tradition. But anyways, but here they're bathing her as this is Raja Lakshmi, right? I think it's what they call it. It's the form that's about royalty, and the elephants are symbols of royalty, right? And they're bathing her as a way, like the Abhishekam of royalty, and has a lot of the symbolism like that. But in this version, or in this story, it's not that at all. She has two elephants, and what she does, she throws one in her mouth and chomps it up, eats it, right? And then, so that's something, right? And then she throws it up again, and it comes back alive. And then she eats the other one. Then she vomits it, then she regurgitates that, and then she eats the other one again. And so this is what they're seeing, a very unusual vision. That's a very ancient, Bengal especially is the...
Haley was saying that they try to get away, grab each one by the tail.
Yeah. They're trying to get away. Yeah. Right, and so and they said this must be somebody, right? There's not like, and they're thinking, how is she standing on a lotus? How is she eating? Oh my God! She must be some sort of goddess. But what type of goddess is this? Right in the middle of the ocean on a lotus, catching elephants, eating them, right, spitting them back up again, while they come back alive and run away again, and then grabbing the next one by the tail and throwing it in the. So this is quite a scene. Right, and so it's been connected to Lakshmi and to Chandi, to the goddess. It's like, but it's a different. It could just be completely unrelated. This is an ancient Bengali version of the goddess, right? Your thing is Abhaya, right? That was her original name, perhaps in the old Bengali tradition, right? And then it got connected, most likely, to the Chandi of the larger tantric or Shakta deity, right? Connected to Chandi and to Chandika and Mangala Chandi and things like that, right? But it's interesting. There's something about some goddess in the middle of an ocean, right? What's she doing? Of course, the elephant is a symbolic. Elephants have symbolism. Everything. And when you're dealing with this, you have to look at this a little bit symbolic. We have to look at this a little bit symbolically. Right? An elephant is a symbol of the mind. You know, Ganesha has that representation, that symbolism. Right? So much. The mind is considered the elephant. The elephant goad controls the mind, and we've talked about these things in the past. Right? So there's something about that. So I think that's a lot of it, actually. But let's just take it as it is. There's something. She's spitting up elephants and swallowing elephants. She's creating life and destroying life. Right? That's the thing. So whatever this ocean is, in the churning of the ocean, it's called Karuna Sagara, the ocean of causation, a potentiality. Everything is coming into existence. Even Vishnu comes into existence, lays on it, and disappears. Ananta, universe is coming. This is what Vishnu lies in. This is what Brahma comes out of. This is the womb. And actually, one of the great questions of the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, when it said, Brahma is the creator of the universe, that's fine, and he's on a lotus that goes into Vishnu. Okay, he's supreme consciousness, supreme God, that's fine, and he's laying on the Anantashesha. We can give that symbolism of Kundalini or potentiality or Shakti. We can give it all that. Every sect can understand it in some way, right? And it's in the ocean of causality. Then the question the Devi Bhagavatam asks, what's the ocean in? Right? What does that exist in? Right? So the ocean exists, that's in the womb of the divine, that in the reality, the substratum of the Divine Mother. Right? And so this ocean is the potentiality coming from, it's the being and becoming and disappearing of the supreme consciousness, which is Devi, the Shakti part of that transition between the one, not even the one being, the one beyond being, that becomes the one being that becomes all beings. That thing. So you have that ocean, and you have the Devi who's creating and destroying again and again. Right? There's even it's not even like she's creating things and destroying them, creating new things. She's destroying them and then creating them again, and destroying them and creating them again. Right? And you can see what happens. Perhaps that's what happened to us also. We're not being destroyed and recreated. We're being recycled. We're being ground up, reused, and then spit back out again. Right? And there's a very bewildering vision of Sri Ramakrishna. Swamiji reminded me of it today. Was it at the Panchavati near the Ganga? I believe he had it like this, where he saw she come out of the Ganga. Yes, she saw a black woman come out of the Ganga. Not going to tell you who that might be, but he saw some black woman come out of the Ganga, right, and give birth, right in front of. Am I get this right? I don't want to get this story wrong. Gives birth, right, and then the person grows, or she just eats the baby, and then she just swallows the baby and goes back into the Ganga. So this is not an easy thing to see. Somebody come out, give birth, swallow the baby, and go back to the Ganga. That's a version of the same thing. You have the ocean, right? Some things giving birth and then swallowing them, eating birth, and it's Kālī, right? Here it's in the 1,000 names of Kālī, right? So you can connect these two ideas, but it's all name, all form, all potentiality, everything is just being dissolved into it and created. This is one way of looking at this. But it's why is this name in the middle of all these intoxication things, right? So it's like the thing, the one, the being, the reality, the Shakti, I don't know what word to give it, that whatever that ocean is, or whatever that ocean is in, right? That Maha-Devi, Maha-Shakti, actually in the Devi Bhagavatam it says Adya Devi, Bhagavati Adya Devi, Mahavidya Mahamaya, the one that gives that knowledge and ignorance and creation and destruction and control and madness, and the whole thing is from that thing, that reality. Like, what do you make of that? Right? It's in a simple thing, it's crazy, right? It's like it's beyond conception, it's beyond rational. Swamiji wrote, he sent me, if you printed up, the last thing you printed, there's a name, it's actually, a lot of it's tattooed on something. If you want to read the original, you can just ask to stare at something Ambikananda's arm, right? But famous Shama Sangeet, and also we have on Usha's website, on Usha's YouTube channel, and on Kali Mandir's YouTube channel, Sanatana Das Baul singing this song. Incredible. That's like unglued. Truly mad. I mean, mad and intoxicated, right? This Mada and Madan. I won't try to say it in Bengali, but we know a little bit in Bengali. Is my mother Shama really black? Right? Shama means black. Right? So the first question, is my mother really black? My black, Thakur is black. She is black. Is she really black? That's the question. People say Kālī is black, but I don't think she's black. Right? So is my black mother black? So it's like, I don't think she's like, already you can see things are coming a little bit unglued. I don't believe the black goddess is black. I don't believe wet water is wet. You can see it's a weird, already the language is a little bit unglued, right? The form of time and clad in space, right? She lights the lotus of the heart, right? So she's time, she's the form of time and space. And she lights at another, the Paramahansa Yogananda kind of rephrase some of these ideas in one song. Who tells me thou art black? Or that from the Gospel Tamrita also. Yogananda's version kind of this idea. Who tells me thou art black, O my mother divine? Thousands of suns and moons from thy body do shine. So already the one who lights everything, the light of who thousand suns and moons come, how is that black? Even suns and moons come. The form of time clad in space, she lights the lotus of the heart. Is my mother Shama really black? Mother Shama is sometimes white, sometimes yellow, sometimes blue, or ruby red. This reminds us of the story of the chameleon. Thakur sees Thakur's story of the chameleon in different colors. This is very similar. Some say she's this way. You could say, actually, no, some say she's black, some say she's white. Or you could say sometimes she's black, sometimes you see it's a non-sectarian presentation. She's all these things, right? She's not just one thing. That could be a mistake. But even to say, I see sometimes she's yellow, sometimes she's blue, ruby red. How mother can have these moods, I can't understand. Lives have passed pondering this, right? Is my mother Shama really black? Lives and lives contemplating how to make sense of this. Shama, and then color thing is already complicated enough. Is she black or not? But Shama Sangeet, right? Not Shama Sangeet. Due to bad habit, we mispronounce it again and again, right? Is she black? The black, So is she is the next question, right? So you go, sometimes she's Purusha, and sometimes she's Prakriti. Another crazy. Sometimes she's woman, sometimes she's man, sometimes she's male, sometimes female, sometimes she's conscious, sometimes she's nature. However you want to interpret these Purusha and Prakriti are loaded with stuff, right? Sometimes she's void. She's not anything. She's beyond everything. I don't know how to say it, Right. Thinking of these moods of my mother, this is the line. Kamalakanta so easily has gone mad. Right, this is the equivalent. He uses pagal, I think, right? Or it means pagal and mada and matta and all these type of things have a similar meaning, right? So this is another thing, is like the reality that she is, the madness that all things, the reason all things, why we are fascinated or scared or attracted to drunkenness and madness and frenzied and infatuation and delusion, all the things in this world, why it's a perfect symbol of the pramattā and ati-mattā and all the divine level, the highest level, is because that's the only response to that level of realization. I mean, what she is. If we start thinking about the ineffable, right, the undescribable, the unthinkable, the unrealizable, yet we describe it, we think of it. It's like. But everything gets it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. It's an experience that doesn't see. And when you're intoxicated, I have very limited experience of intoxication, so I'm not speaking from direct, not a wide variety. Some people probably have more direct experience. It doesn't make sense. It's out of control. It's beyond logic, right? Yet you're experiencing it, right? You still get it, right? You're getting something that doesn't make sense. Right, you're experiencing something that can't be right. When you're like, if you hallucinate something, you're not. What you're seeing is impossible, right? Yet you're seeing it, right? You're experiencing something that can't be experienced, right? What does that do? That's madness. That's crazy. That's intox. And but the thing is, what is it? This is the ocean of purity. This is of truth, beauty, and goodness, right? This is the highest. This is we're not talking about regular. We're talking about the contemplating, experiencing, meditate upon, describing, praying to the divine, the infinite, the beyond. So it's going to be what Swami, our Guru Bhai Swami Paramananda, many years ago when he was here, he gave a difficult to follow, abstract, abstruse talk on Vedanta, as is his style, right? And but then he was also about the nature that Brahman cannot be known, can never be an object of knowledge, right? It's not known in sleep, it's not known in wakefulness. It's not, he gives the classical from Sureshacharya's commentary on somebody's commentary of somebody's, one of those type of things, right? Right. But at one point, the part that got to me, even now I get emotional even thinking about it, right? He says, but one thing that, why do sages, why do rishis, why do we contemplate, even think about the thing which is not an object, which is not a thing, can't be experienced? Like he says, but it's always described as wonderful. Whatever it is, it's wonderful. So the intoxication, it's not just regular intoxication. It's divine. It's a goal. So even thinking about that, which is not thinkable, even what's a partial of a part experience is mind blowing, right? And Thakur uses this language all the time of intoxication, right? When one of the things is, what do we have to know? Why do we have to know all of God? Right, then he uses a little bit of God is if you know something. Then he uses the example of if why do I have to know how many gallons of wine in the wine shop? Yeah, it's like how many gallons of wine in all the wine shops in Orange County? Why do we have to know? It's like one bottle of wine will get me drunk, right? That he used that language. Once you're drunk, you're drunk. You don't need to know all these philosophy and theology and history, this about all the little details and what is it? Like, one bottle is sufficient for me, right? The rest I don't care about, So it's like that's a great image of the overwhelming experience of something that beyond which it's impossible to know, no need to know. The goal is to get drunk, spiritually, not actually. You have to be careful. If people are going to take, the clip is Swami Bhajanananda says the goal of life is to get drunk. The problem was. So then let's think of other great songs and statements of Sri Ramakrishna. I drink, what is it? I drink no you know the songs better than me. Somebody, if Komalakanta was here, he could sing them for us. But I drink no ordinary wine. Oh mind, is it oh mind or oh mother? I forget. Or I drink no ordinary, but I drink the wine of everlasting bliss. Right? He says. And then he gives examples. I get the grapes from my guru. I may be messing this. You've translated this for us, right? No, but I get the gist of it to be right if the details aren't exactly right. But I get the grapes I get from the guru. This is the mantra, and then I churn it and then I ferment it like that and I let it, But so we take that thing and we turn it into wine. We turn it into that divine intoxication. Another scene that I'm remembering of, I'm forgetting his name. He came to Sri Ramakrishna, maybe a friend of Girish Ghosh. He was a confirmed drunkard in the negative use of the word. Alcoholic, out of control, ruined his family, ruined his wife, destroyed his finances, that type of out of control. But he was definitely a lover of wine, or addicted to wine, you could say, rather than giving it such a positive lover of epithet. Right? But he came to Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna, it's interesting, Sri Ramakrishna never actually told people who were drinkers, stop drinking. Interesting. Usually most people, it's like first thing you have to do before we get going further, you have to clean yourself up and get a little self-control. He gave them a higher taste, and most people, bit by bit, stop drinking. They get a higher experience, right? And he connected when you drink the wine offered to Ma and think of divine intoxication, the physical, and bit by bit they were able to leave the lower intoxication for a higher intoxication. Because what they want is intoxication, not stopping intoxication. That's usually the thing is when with people like who are addicted, stopping the thing they want, you tell them to stop. Give them the real thing, getting a higher taste. It seems that was Thakur's method. As far as I know, there's no example of Thakur telling anybody to stop drinking, right? But all his disciples who were alcoholics or drunks stopped drinking, as far as we know, more or less, most likely. It's hard to tell because the stories and the hagiography of the stories always get told in the best possible light in their later life. You never really know where it's real. The reality on the ground may be more complicated. But anyways, this one person, he came and so Sri Ramakrishna immediately, he came already a little intoxicated to Sri Ramakrishna's presence. And usually if somebody comes here drunk, we'd ask them to leave, right? Because you confuse people and ruin our reputation. There's children here and they're unpredictable. We have on our website, don't come intoxicated. That's one of the rules of Kālī Mandir, right? Thakur didn't do like that, but he immediately said, oh, would you like some wine? That was Thakur asked him. And the guy got very excited, right? Is it British wine? Right? This is the good stuff. And he goes, no. And then Thakur said, no. Here we only have, what is it? Homemade. Our wine is homemade. It's like like moonshine type thing. It's like homemade, right? And he got all excited. And Sri Ramakrishna, I believe Sri Ramakrishna just like touched him, and he went into an ecstatic intoxication, right? He got the real wine, right? And then in Swami Chaitanya, I'm forgetting his name. That's the thing. It may be Kālīpada. Kālīpada, thank you, Kālīpada. I was just remembering. When you said it, I just got there. Same thing, Kālīpada Ghosh, right? And I believe later in his life, in Swami Chaitanya's biography, a short biography on him, we see him, from a and it'll be overly negative, but he had all the negative qualities of a drunkard that we'd consider that are problematic. People who drink too much. He had literally those problems. We'd be worried if we knew such a person. That type of drinking. But at the end of his life, we see him. It describes him that one of them saw him, or somebody saw him, and he just in one cloth, only wearing a single cloth. And although it was Brahmin thread, he had taken his religious life again, and he just wandered around saying Priyanat, Priyanat, oh, my beloved Lord. He was just lost in love of God, that his name for God, and anything he said, he just talked. He got intoxication. He got the real intoxication, thinking about the one that, but he wanted that madness. Right? We actually do want that madness. That's why it's so dangerous. The lower intoxication is too attractive. We can take it. We want madness. Okay, I have 4 minutes. I think I've got more or less given them. Let me see what I have left. There's another. There's a verse. Swami Chaitananda also, Swami Vivekananda and myself translated a long time ago from his favorite hymn called the Kālī of. Definitely written by Adi Shankaracharya, by somebody attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. This beautiful hymn to the Divine Mother. Sudhā-mattā. It uses that word. Sudhā-mattā. You subhakta nurakta. You know it. Lashat puta chitta sadavir bhavete. Japadhyana puja shuddha dautu panka. Sarupam tvamidya Todiyam. Thank you. Vedanti Devaha. I'm out of practice. We chant it, but I just haven't. I didn't prepare myself a little bit, my tongue to chant it. Sudhā-mattā. So the first line this says is that you are intoxicated by some divine elixir, right? So Ma is another. This is a classic example. Ma is intoxicated, right? Subhakta, and you are pleased by sincere devotees. Interesting. So she's intoxicated. Maybe if we connect these two, she's pleased. Her maybe her intoxication comes from the spiritual intoxication of her devotees. She's the thing itself, as well as its particulars, right? She's intoxicated and intoxication. Right, so she becomes intoxicated with the intoxication, if we were to stretch this way, of her devotees, right? Because this lends itself to that, because it also says you are ever present in the pure and luminous mind, right? So yeah, you are ever present in the pure, in the illumined mind, in the pure mind. Maybe the pure ocean like this itself, you are present there. You are revealed there, right? And you are, what is it? And as japa, meditation, and worship, you make the impure pure. Right? Through japa, meditation, and puja, through spiritual practice, through devotional practice, you make the impure pure, and then you are ever existent or manifested in the pure. And you are intoxicated by that purity. Right? So this is the way we get intoxicated, the way we intoxicate Ma, right? Is our pure. And so she is sadhana that purifies. Right? There's nothing. And then of course the refrain, which is, to me, is a perfect refrain, says, you make what your true nature is, even the gods don't understand. So this is again the idea that she's beyond understanding, beyond conception, beyond definition. She's thinking about her, Komalatanda goes crazy. Thinking about her, even Shankaracharya goes crazy. You know, the gods go crazy. The gods don't understand. Even the gods don't understand her, what her real nature is, right? But there's in as many hymns like that. I think there's another verse that by thinking about you, the gods get their power of being gods. I don't have that verse in front of me, but they get their, by her grace, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva get the power to become Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Yet they can't understand you, right? She's the one beyond. And then the final. So mattā, pramattā, pramadā, sudhā-sindhu-nivāsinī, ati-mattā, mahā-mattā. Again, another one. He's the supreme great intoxication. You know, it keeps all these languages are playing on it's also playing on the rhythm of the words, right? So it's repeating the same thing. We could give a different definition for each one, but then it ends with a kind of a weird, but not weird, I think, giving a pointer, a hint to the whole thing. It says, what is it? I lost it. Sarvākarṣṇa-kāriṇī. Now, the sarvākarṣṇa, I should read it instead of remember it. Sarvākarṣṇa-kāriṇī. So you have to understand. So actually, sarvākarṣṇa, that's one of the devis worshipped in the Sri Chakra, right? I can point to where she is, right? So akarsha is here means attractive power, attractive power, right? Sarvākarṣṇa means all attracting, right? Or that which attracts everything, or attraction in everything, or the attraction of everything. This is a primary, secondary quality business, you know, and for that type of thing. And then she's Kāriṇī. She is the cause. Remember, she's the ocean of causation, Karana Sagara. She's the cause, that ocean. This is referring to her as the ocean. She's the ocean. She is the cause of that which attracts everything, or that which is attractive in everything, right? So what attracts, what we're attracted to is what we want, right? We have to think about the thing, even if we're attracted to things we don't really want, it's because we want something that we're attracted to things we don't really want. We can be sold something because we want something, you know? If there was no lack, there's no need, there's no hunger, there's no desire, then nothing would be attractive, even the wrong thing, or to speak of the right thing, right? And so this is a theme in our discussions, is that what desire is not. Today's Buddha Jayanti. I have to be careful what I say in 50, 60 inches from Lord Buddha himself, right? And where it all started, from this little statue and a small book on Buddhism by Manly P. Hall. That started the whole mess for me, right? I have to be gentle when I say, but the Buddha's right. I have to say that the Buddha's right. Suffering is caused by desire. That's a fact, right? All suffering is caused by desire. Okay, we can agree with the Buddha. Yet we will go one step further. It says, why do we desire? Why does desire lead to suffering, right? And why do we desire in the first place, right? So we would hold, right? Sri Ramakrishna would perhaps say, verses from the Kālī Sahasranāma directly say, right, that we desire because unfulfilled desire is a cause of suffering, right? Not desire. When desire is unfulfilled, we suffer, right? And sometimes fulfilled desire is also unfulfilling. That's to say, you can't, I get my fulfilled desire and I'm still suffering. No, fulfilled desire can be unfulfilling, because most desire, we've used this little unpacking before, but when we desire something, we very rarely get what we desire, so we suffer. If we get it, it only lasts temporary, and so we suffer. And if we get it and it's temporary and it's perfect and it lasts, it's still going to be temporary, so we're going to suffer. And if we have it and it lasts and we're enjoying it, it's going to be eventually we're going to be scared somebody's going to take it away, and therefore we suffer. I mean, Buddha gives him all these different arguments for why suffering, even fulfilling desire, is rarely fulfilled. If it is fulfilled, it still leads to suffering. But we would, the Kālī Sahasranāma says, we can say, and we can also repeat what Kālī Sahasranāma says in other names. We did Kamini, Kama, Kamadayini, Kama, the Kamarupini. There's all these names in the beginning. We gave several talks on this desire business, right? We desire because the soul has desire, right? The soul wants God, right? That's the thing, right? Sri Ramakrishna said the purpose of life is God realization, not the purpose of life is to give up all desire. Right? No, if the giving up desire allows you to realize God, then you're giving up desire because you have a strong desire for God realization. Or if you have a strong desire for liberation, even liberation, wanting not to be free from the influence of desire, that's a desire for liberation. That's another way of saying we want God, we want infinite, we want the infinite, we want the infinite ocean of purity. We want that. We want that intoxication, right? She is the cause of the attraction of all attraction. So you can see how this is giving a little bit. So this ocean, we'll finish. I'm really way beyond what I wanted to say. I'm not anywhere near what I wanted to say, but beyond what time I have to say it. We can back up and continue next time on the same point. But another point of this, when we say, Ma is beyond thinking, she's this ocean that swallows and like that. In that Shakti, that Para Shakti, that supreme, like that. In Vedanta, it's called Brahman, right? The infinite, right? The word Brahman simply means infinite, huge, Briha. It's like so that Brahman. We here in Kālī Sahasranāma in 1,000 ways it's called Kālī, and here it's also called mattā, pramattā, pramadā, sudhā. These are all names for that one, for the infinite, right? And so that infinite from which that is everything, beyond everything, the cause of everything, the source of everything, the goal of everything, the desire of everything, the call of all these ways, it's like that. That's, to put in a very simple, beautiful thing, this is what Sri Ramakrishna called Ma. He called that Ma. And he not only called her that, he related to her intimately, most intimately, And the amazing thing is, she responded personally. That's very mysterious. Thinking of such things, people go crazy. And Sri Ramakrishna, what was his prayer? We remember the other day he prayed, Mother. He had two. I had two prayers to Divine Mother. Of course, we know Thakur had many prayers, but at one point, two prayers. Maybe don't make me a dry monk like Swami Bhajanananda, right? And make me the king of ecstatic lovers of God, right? That was his goal, and we could say definitely the Divine Mother satisfied and answered his prayer perfectly. So anyway, at his feet and Lord Buddha's feet on this holy day, we thank you for your kind attention. I went over, but this is good, juicy stuff. Thinking of something we go crazy. So next week, God willing, we'll do verse 22.